recording. So thank you everybody for joining us. Today we'll be talking about paid newsletters. And we have Toni, who's shuffling papers, and Susan on the call today. In the last year or so, maybe year and a half, both Toni and Susan did a lot of promotions using paid newsletters, and they're going to come here to talk to you guys about this. This is a great tool for, a lot of us to get some initial exposure on our books and our writing, and a very nice tool for marketing. When you're doing marketing launches of new books or you're trying to push a backlist, this is a great tool. So they'll talk to you about that. Let's see what else we got. So that's today. Coming up, we're going to have Amazon ads. That's at our next meeting. And then after that, 2 weeks later, we'll have kind of a Q&A with the publisher. I believe this is a small press, so it's not a big publisher, but they'll be able to give you some insights. I sent out an email for questions, and I got a ton of responses, so I appreciate everybody for that. And I'm going to put all those questions together, send that off to the publisher, and then we'll kind of have like a nice dialogue with them while, using those questions as kind of a base. But other than that, if anybody has any questions during the talk, please put them into the chat window. I'll be monitoring the chat while Toni and Susan are giving the talk. But without further ado, Susan, Toni, feel free to get started, and I'll go on mute.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Okay,
thank
Toni,
you.
Start up.
One of the first things we wanted to do is welcome everyone, and then just put out a question. We'd like to know what you're working on, so we could kind of unmute one at a time. Tell us what you're working on. Should we start? Heck, I can't tell who anybody is.
All right, I'll
and I've got Andy first.
Okay, so I can start. I'm off mute. I'm publishing a series of short stories based out of Monroe. That's where I'm
cool.
Wow. Who's next?
Andy here. You hear me?
Yep.
I'm working still on my narrative journalism book. I just completed a adverb search, and have become really attuned to too many adverbs. And I'm moving into the word was and were. They are sort of my go-to verbs that way. So that's where I'm at right now. It's pretty much taken all my focus, so I haven't done any other writing. So the writing and other stuff that I have going on here keeps me super busy.
Good.
Cool. Who's next?
Roland? Roland's been busy naming my books.
Who else is out there? I can't see anybody. I'm just seeing the blanks.
How about John?
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I'm starting to work on the new anthology. I've read a few of the stories. I'll have to get busy on the rest of them and then start getting the editing out. And other than that, I've just been fortifying the Hunefeld compound with the chain link fence and other stuff. So, yeah. A lot of outdoor work and landscaping work.
That's good.
Yeah.
If you're tired of it, I always have some that needs doing.
Yeah, it's been quite a bit. I mean, one thing leads to another. I got started and I decided, I got that part of the fence in, I should put in more. And then I'm like, I should do some more. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, who's next?
Diane?
I'm in the middle of publishing my first romance series, and all the books are written. I'm revising the last 2. So I have the Lead Magnet Finders Keepers up, and I have Helios up now, and New Heights is on for pre-order, and then I've got the last 2, and I'll be done with this. I'm real eager to hear this because I've done my first promotion through Fussy Librarian just on Friday, and I'm kind of watching my numbers and trying to figure out my next game plan for how to do it.
Yeah, it's complicated, or it feels complicated.
Heidi? what are you up to?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm working on a new book called Pony. It's Bart the Bat stuff, and it's basically Jezebel, who was my cat. It's in memory of my cat, but Jezebel thinks Bart is actually sneaking towards him, and she thinks he's food. But Bart's like looking at Heidi, who has a horse, and also, and looks at the cat and thinks Pony, and runs after Jezebel. This is a kid's book, by the way, of course. And runs after Jezebel, and Jezebel freaks out. So basically, it's the whole story about Jezebel becoming Bart's pony, and they're all at the very end sitting under the moon. Bart with his arms back, sitting on his, Jezebel pony, and Heidi on Alibaba the horse, and Zoe on Shorty, and they're all just looking up at the moon. So it's kind of a sweet story. I'm also going to be reading The Bat That Came to Breakfast on Once Upon a Story Time, which I've already read and did a video on their site, and it got 16,000 hits, which is great.
Nice. Yeah.
The hits are great, but it's like, come on, get more. I would like to see more buys.
Purchases, yes.
Yeah. And Diane was talking about Fussy Librarian, and I love, Toni. I love Fussy Librarian. I think in the end I ended up getting about 1,000, free books to give away in the end over like 3 days, the last one I did. So Fussy Librarian can be great. Just, making a little point of that so Diane can know.
And gardening.
Oh, yes. And we've been doing a major amounts of gardening, which I put lots of video up.
Yep.
So that's what I've been doing.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you.
Who else? Who I missed?
Linda.
Well, I have a lot of noise here, and I'm eating lunch, but I have been doing
Vacation.
Yeah, I'm on vacation and I'm killing myself in the garden. And but I have been kind of fiddling with a short story for the anthology, and so we'll see if it's any good. I don't know. But that's pretty much what I'm doing. Oh, and I have to publish something on Wednesday, on the 15th, whatever that is. So I'm trying to get that together. And reading a lot. So that's my world.
Nice.
Okay, Irena.
Yes.
What are you up
Can
to?
you hear me?
Yes.
So this last weekend, I finished my memoir that is called Mail Word, The Bride and the Giant. It's my story how I came to America. So I'll probably need a lot of help how to market the damn thing. And I'm working right now with a web designer to do my writer's website, and they just published it on Friday. It still needs a little bit of tweaking back and forth, but I'm really happy with the results. They're not cheap, let me tell you, but it was worth it every penny, because I told John, if we don't divorce over my website, then probably I should hire a professional website designer. So I really recommend to hire some professional if you don't know how to do it, honestly. So that's what I am up to.
Okay, Steve, what are you up to?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi.
Hi.
Working on a fantasy for several years, but mostly I'm up to my ears in edits, because that's what I do for a living these days. So that's keeping me busy, but I do work on my fantasy when I get a chance.
Okay, I bet. John, what are you up to? Not there? Did you slip under? Okay. Oh, Sierra, how about you?
Did I unmute? Am I good?
You're yes.
Good. Okay. Just today I got a contract to write a hockey sports romance. So
Good.
that is due to them on March 31st. I have 2 audiobooks in production right now, and they should be done in the next several weeks, and then go through edits and hopefully be published in August, late August.
Wow.
I have a book being published under a shared world series, and I got the release date for October 11th. And I just put up a new video on my BookTube channel, Sierra Talks Books with Authors, and I'm scheduling out more for the next couple months.
Okay.
You
And
how busy you are.
and Edward, I see you came in. What have you been up to?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Well, what have I been up to? I've been making rugs, Oriental rugs, and I've completed 4,000 words on the Best Laid Plan anthology. I'll be sending that in middle of this coming week.
Nice.
What else? My tennis club has opened up again, so I can actually get some exercise again. And everyone else is good and healthy. I've got 2 finished manuscripts, but I'm not sure whether they're ready for publication yet, so I'm kind of holding off. I'm sorry I missed last week's or last session's get-together, because I would have liked to have gotten some advice from publishers.
Okay, thank you. Roland, we're back to you.
I guess he's incognito.
Yeah.
Really hot in Arizona, so you might be out.
Yeah, that could be it.
Roland posted his update on the chat.
Okay, have I covered everybody?
Okay. I guess should we go on with the newsletter stuff?
I think we should.
Okay. Are you talking or am I talking?
You're talking.
Okay. Okay, so this is a brief overview of using paid newsletters. Now, Toni and I, Matthew got us started a couple of years ago, and Toni does it assiduously, constantly, and extremely effectively. I've done it 2 or 3 times, and both times it's been very effective for me. So we're kind of looking at it from that point of view. I used it to promote kids' books and my fantasy series, and Toni's used it to promote her Mildred series. And so we'll just go through what happened with that. Okay, first of all, what is a paid newsletter? When people started talking about it, I got super confused because I really didn't know what they were talking about. So a paid newsletter, to review for those of you who do know what it is, it's a commercial newsletter, something like Bargain Booksy, Fussy Librarian, or Book Gorilla. There's a lot of them. They build huge, like hundreds of thousands of reader subscribers. And then for a set fee, depending on your genre, they'll list your book promotion with the link of where to buy it. And because they reach so many people, you get to readers you would otherwise not find. That's why you pay for it. Even if you do a free giveaway with them, not a paid one, like you pay them, but even if you're not charging for your book, it will boost your Amazon and other rankings and make the paid books more visible, because once they start moving you up the rankings, of course, Amazon starts showing you or showing your book, and then people can find your other books as well. It will build your readership, and it can help build your personal newsletter subscribers. I found as a side effect, I didn't particularly ask for reviews, but every time I've run a promotion, I got about 6 reviews on my books. So that was good. Especially if they like your book. That's what you want. Okay. Getting to know you. The whole point of this is the more places you put your books, the more likely you are to gather readers. It gives you name recognition, and it gives you brand recognition. So that's what Toni has really excelled at, because she's done it repeatedly in a variety of newsletters. So like big ones and small ones, so that she's built a lot of name recognition and a lot of brand recognition. She's done a lot of other things as well, which enhances it, but we're focusing just on the newsletters right now. Toni, chime in if you want to say something.
No, I'm good.
Not just good, awesome.
Yes.
Okay, when you get started, this is really important. Get yourself set up ahead of time or it will make you crazy because you'll start to do it and it's like, oh, I need this. Oh, I need this. So what you do need is a few book blurbs of different lengths. Sometimes your jacket blurb or Amazon blurbs are okay, but a lot of the newsletters don't want those. They want an original blurb just for them. And so they will give you a word length or a character length. Some of them are a couple of sentences. Some of them are under 50 words. Most are between 100 and 250 words. So have them ready ahead of time so you're not scrambling, because you want, this blurb is what's going to sell your book on the newsletter. So you want it to be good and punchy. You also need author bios, 50 to 100 words. You might need longer ones, but not usually. Not every newsletter will ask for an author bio. In fact, quite a few don't, but sometimes people will contact you. And so just having them there is a good idea. Everything you do, everything, include links to your web page, your Facebook page, and purchase information. It's okay if you put it in what you think is too many times, because you know what people are like. They move around really fast, and if they don't see the link to click on, they just keep going. So put it in 3 times if you have to. Okay, so this is a book page example. This is the kind of thing that Toni has. This was only a piece of hers because she has lengthy ones. So Mildred Unchained, that's her series. She calls it the Unexpected series. So this
was a standalone book. It was a standalone book, but Mildred would not shut up.
Right, so it became a series. So she has it as fiction, crime, humor. So she's given what the keywords would be. So Mildred Petrie retired from a long career as a meter maid. Her husband died and his secrets changed everything. Alone, broke, and desperate, she walks into the Ivory Winds Casino and takes the first job they offer, undercover security. Mildred roams the gaming floor, fighting crime and helping who needs her in disguises and sensible shoes. So she's got her Amazon links. What is it? Books to read. All of the possible links. Sorry, I'm killing a mosquito. Okay. Then here's more that would go with that she has all on one page. She actually had quite a bit more. Mildred in Disguise with Diamonds, friction, crime, humor. Mildred Petrie expected a comfortable retirement after years as a meter maid. Her husband dies and his secrets change everything. At the age of 71, broke and desperate, she walks into the Ivory Winds Casino and takes the first job they offer, undercover security. Mildred takes on the hidden secrets with sass, courage, and elastic waistbands. Now that's a slightly shorter one. And then she's got all her links there ready to copy and paste as she needs them. And then an even shorter one is No Retirement at 71. Mildred's husband died and his secrets change everything. Broke and desperate, she walks to the casino and a job undercover. So you can see how the different lengths are available to her. So she's not scrambling when she does a promotion. She's not scrambling to figure out what to write. She's already written it. And that's what you want to do. You want to have it already written so that you don't mess up. It doesn't have typos. You're not trying to make it fit the right size.
Well, then I just have to cut and paste. I don't have to go through, searching through folders or files or anything. I have it all on the one page and I cut and paste and I move to the next thing.
Right. And it saves you so much trouble. And if you're like me, you'll be doing it and you think you're good, and then you realize that you mistyped something or it wasn't where you thought it was, even though you were pretty sure you'd filed it in the right spot. So just have your stuff ready. That's the thing, is being prepared. Be a Boy Scout, be prepared.
And I keep this page on my desktop, and it's just labeled book page. And so I don't have to dig for it anywhere. It's just right there, and I pop it open all the time.
Yep. And on this page or in the information that you've got gathered, you need your ISBN or your ASIN identifiers, because you always have to put those in, and searching for them is a pain. The links, you should have the links to your books on all sales platforms, like if you do it on Kobo, if you do it on Barnes & Noble, if you do it on Apple, if you just do it on Kindle, everywhere you sell it, you need to have your links right there ready to paste, because all the newsletters ask for them. And one of the things you should do to make yourself not insane, or more so than necessary, is you need a spreadsheet or some way of keeping track of money in, money out, as well as distribution numbers. Because I think as you do this, you'll find some things work really well, and some things are a bust, and some things are in between. And unless you're independently wealthy, you want your money to work for you. You don't want it to be just sort of thrown away. And not all newsletters are created equal, and they're not all equal for every genre. So that's why you need to know what you're doing. Okay, first thing, pick your category. Have a really clear idea of what genre your book falls into. If you think your book crosses genres, pick one that has the greatest demand. You want a lot of people finding it. Don't waffle around and say, well, my book is different, and my book is this, and my book is that. Sierra did a great presentation a couple of years ago about rebranding her covers, because she had to fit her, once she fit her book covers into the genre, the sales went way up, even though she didn't do anything different. So it's really important to be right on the nose with your genre. And if you're not sure, fake it. Just pick something and go with it. And with that, be really clear who your audience is. You want to picture them. You want to market just to them. It's not, well, somebody might buy your book. Like if I'm marketing my kids' books, I want to get to parents and grandparents, because they're the ones who buy it. I don't want to get to a 30-year-old guy who's interested in weightlifting. So look at who you're going to. Toni, why don't you talk about that? Because you've been really good about that part about your market.
Well, one of the things I do, especially with Mildred, because she kind of floats around to different things, is I'm looking at what I'm presenting to, and I'll just change those 3 descriptors at the beginning. Sometimes it's women detectives, it varies. But since I have the thing already up and ready, I just edit, cut and paste, and I use the same things for Facebook groups, writer groups, reader groups. When I get a chance to post, I've got a description, and and I try to adapt it to what the group is.
Yeah, really, and her numbers show that this is very effective. Okay, facts and figures. These are just audiences. Sales. Mystery, thriller, and crime fiction represents about 48% of the market. The second is science fiction, with 26% of the markets buying sci-fi. I suspect that's science fiction and fantasy, which are 2 separate genres, which if you read them, but they're often lumped together. Literature, what would be considered literature, is 24%. That's a huge category. And romance is about 21% of the market. In nonfiction, history is about 31%, biographies 29%. So you've got the big history researchy piece. Religious and spirituality about 26%. And the rest is self-help, current affairs, true crime, business, and other nonfiction. When you're actually marketing, you'll want to dive in deeper to get a more specific genre for yourself, because these are general genres, and to sell well, like if you're doing a romance paranormal, you don't want to sell to the Christian romance market. It's a whole different ballgame. So you need to know who your market is again. Okay, and then make sure your author information is correct. Update all your author pages on your own and sales platform websites. When I was doing my last my last promotion, I discovered that about 4 of the links to my web pages and the sales pages were broken. I hadn't done anything wrong. Nothing had changed, I thought. So make sure you check those, because you don't want to put in a link that doesn't work, because then you've kind of wasted your money. If you have books that are part of a series, make sure they're linked as series, like the first book in this, the second book in this. And if you can, with my children's books, I actually manufactured a series. I called them the adventure books, which really surprised me because I thought adventure books would be a taken nomenclature, but it wasn't. There was the Adventures of So-and-so, the Saddle Club Adventures, there was all these things, but not just the adventure books. So I linked them all under the adventure books so that if anybody types in adventure for kids, these books will come up.
Susan, it's Sierra. Can I add something here?
Sure.
So you mentioned that, making sure everything is correct, which we should. One thing I've noticed is that several of the newsletters that I've used, they will send me an email about a day before, just verifying and double checking that everything is correct. So that's kind of a stopgap too that will help to find any errors that we had.
Yeah, that's true. I had totally forgotten about that. Thank you. They do. And it's very helpful because you look at it and go, oh my God, I missed something. Thank you. Yes.
Especially if you're doing a freebie, because, you've only got so many free in a 90-day period, and you don't want to accidentally have an extra day in there that you might need later. So for them letting you know in advance really helps to double check to make sure your prices are right on.
Yep. Sierra is also extremely strong at promotion, as you might have guessed from when she's talking about all the things she's doing. So listen to her. Okay, pick the price points for your books. Are you selling them for free or giving them away, but it is considered a sale? Are you charging 99 cents? Do you have them discounted? How much do you have them discounted? This part is confusing. I found it very confusing. So it's kind of trial and error. But the art of pricing your book. If you're doing a free giveaway promotion, only do it if you have other books a reader will buy to read through, because otherwise you're kind of donating to their reading unless you've got something else for them to go to. Now you could do that to get your sales up and move yourself up in the rankings. But if you do too much free giveaway, they've got nothing else to buy, and they may appreciate it, but you are going to lose money. You can price the book at a discount if you're not using Kindle Unlimited, which is the ebook only on Amazon. I've done that a couple of times. The big trick is to get enough sales to pay for your ad. Okay, what's the right price? If I were you, I would really consider subscribing to the paid book newsletters, Book Gorilla, BookBub, Fussy Librarian, all of these things, and see what other people are doing in your genre. Like, what are the price points they are using? The prices of the books matter dependent on the number of titles you've got. If you have like a series of 8 books, you can price your initial book for free or very low, because what you're banking on is people are going to keep on going and read your books. If you only have 1 book or only 2 books, you may keep it a little higher so you make money, or you just might want the distribution, in which case you can keep it free or keep it very low. Consider also the time span for your price point. Like, if you're going to put it at 99 cents, is it going to be that way forever? Is it going to be that way for 3 days? What are you going to do to help it move along? If you're working on Kindle, if you've got a lot of books or a book on Kindle Unlimited, if you keep your price too low, people won't read it. They're more likely to read a book that looks expensive, because then they feel like they're getting something for their money. So do consider how long you're going to have it discounted. And there's no absolute right answer, so that's the art of it. You have to work out what works for you. And there is a certain amount of trial and error. When I first started doing this, I figured, okay, I'm going to spend $100 and see what happens. And that was really well spent because I learned a lot about my books, because your books will sell differently than other people's books. Plan when you want your promotion to run. And that's kind of important to know when the best time for sales are. For example, December is usually terrible. If you're doing romances, everybody tries to write them for February, but the market is glutted. So you're fighting for a lot of people. January is usually not great because people don't have a lot of money, unless, of course, they have gift cards, in which case you can hit them up hoping that they will buy using the gift card they got at Christmas. So you're just kind of thinking about that. Make sure you get all your ducks in a row. Get all your stuff ready ahead of time. Write sales copy for your newsletter if you do that. Write sales copy for Facebook, for Twitter, for any place you are going to announce this. Do your sales copy first, because guaranteed the day you're promoting, you'll get the flu or your dog will want you to play fetch or something. So have your stuff ready so that you're not frantic and that you feel like you're a professional rather than running around in circles with your hands in the air screaming. Just a suggestion. Not that any of us would ever do that, but just a suggestion. Okay, your promotion sequence. First, go to the newsletter of your choice. Book the date for your promotion. Fill in the required information. Pay your money. Then you go and you set and schedule the prices for your books. You don't set the prices first because sometimes the date you want isn't available. The better newsletter sites tend to book up 2 to 3 weeks ahead, sometimes only a couple of days, but sometimes 2 to 3 weeks. So don't just assume you can get the date you want. So first you set the date for the newsletter, and then you set the price on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever you're doing it. Put it in your calendar. Make sure all your prices are correct for the target day or days. It's not too hard to screw it up. I did. The first one I did, I got the date wrong. And the night before, I frantically emailed Fussy Librarian, which it happened to be a Friday night. And the guy was awesome. And he said, no worries, we can fix it. And he worked over the weekend to fix it for me. And I will be eternally grateful, because otherwise I would have just lost my money, because I did. You also lose readers because they get really annoyed if you say the book is free and they go and you want to charge them $4 or $5. So you've got to be a little bit obsessive compulsive about this one. Begin your free promotions. That is just telling everybody, like your newsletters, Facebook, Twitter, and such and such, a few days ahead of time. And announce your promotion with links. Remember, you always put your links in. The first few times I did it, I forgot to put my links in because I thought, oh, they'll just look it up, which is really stupid. Put your links in. Let them just click on it. Keep track of your sales numbers, free and paid, every day until it trails off. Usually the trail off is about 2 weeks. The reason for that is you want to see what's building. Like, I always announce things on Facebook, and I might sell or even give away a dozen. And then you see the paid newsletter, you get this huge spike, and it tricks. You can keep reminding people, but it's, you want to know where you're at. And then you can start again if you want to do rolling promotions. Toni, do you want to start about that? Because she does that a lot.
Well, in fact, yesterday I started a promotion that covered several newsletters, and overall it cost me $70. And so far I have made $32.07 back. But it's still, it's like, most of that was yesterday, but I'm still getting, decent reads. I am on KU for everything, just because of my audience, which tends to be baby boomers. And so they're pretty good on Kindle Reads and KU with the limited incomes. I do announce them everywhere. Whenever I do them, I don't tend to Twitter much, but I get right in there and make sure that the announcements are always there. And I'm just hoping that this one picks up. This was where I went through one site, and then they listed it on several other places. Let's see. That was on Book Sends because they did a bunch of them. I've got another one coming up soon. So you want to come back?
Okay. I was going to leave. I thought maybe I'd go pull some weeds. Who knows? Okay. Rolling promotion.
That's not a laughing matter. I've seen it happen.
Okay, stacking the deck.
I'm sorry, I had a quick question about the rolling promotions. Toni, are you using your free days strategically? Is that what you mean by rolling promotions?
Well, no, this one, I've got the first Mildred on 99 cents because I get really good read through. And so I've kept that one low, although I think I am going to raise the price up, but probably the end of this month. So this one's at 99 cents. I've got another one scheduled for the 22nd that will be free for several days. And I have it going to, I think, 21 websites where it was someone I found.
Okay, one of the things you can do in addition to rolling ones where you keep on going, usually with pay, it's got to have a price on it because Kindle Unlimited will give you 5 days every 90 days where they'll allow you to put your book on for free. So you need to think through when you want to use those. But a lot of times you can do paid newsletters, like more than one paid newsletter at the same time, because they have different subscribers. So this is called stacking your promotions. So you buy promotion time on more than one newsletter to promote at the same time or to get different but close to days. I did one where I did it Friday and then I did it Saturday because I wanted to see which of the newsletters got me more reads. And what I found was, I'll talk about that later, but what I found was having the two tripled my read through as opposed to doubled. Like it really made a difference. You do want to track carefully to see what platform creates the best sales for you, and it can be genre specific. Now, an example of that is I decided to start promoting one of my kids' books. I just had it for 99 cents. I did it on Bargain Booksy and managed to sell 5, count them, 5 books. 2 weeks later, I did it on Fussy Librarian and I sold 30. Now, I didn't make my money back because it's hard to sell kids' books online, but the fact that Bargain Booksy, which is considered a really good paid promotion outlet, was really bad for that genre compared to Fussy Librarian, which sold 6 times as many. And actually, the Fussy Librarian was a bit cheaper than Bargain Booksy. So it's very important to be aware of which platform works. So free versus discount. Free without a series will cost you money, but it will not be likely to have a payoff other than name recognition, because they probably won't remember you long enough to get to the next book. Discount gets some money back, which might help your promotion fee. With a series, free or discount can get you read through, especially if you're on Kindle Unlimited. On Kindle Unlimited, you only get 5 free days, which, as I mentioned before, every 90-day period, and that can determine your timing and prices. So planning is everything. Okay, now these are some figures. I ran 2 promotions. I did one last August and I did one in January, and I just added the numbers together. And I did with my Dragons of Frost and Fire, I put it on for 1 day for free each time, and I did 2,093 giveaways, but I got over 10,000 page reads, and Kindle Unlimited pays you for every page, not a lot, but everything, and I got 16 additional sales. Desert and Dust, I did the same thing. I did 1,800 giveaways, 9,400 page reads, but I had 32 sales. I think I added those up wrong. Oh, the thing at the top, it doesn't count because I jiggled the numbers. Wind and Waves, I gave away 1,500 and I had 4,100 page reads, but I sold 13 books. Now, the thing that was interesting was my box set, which is the same books all put together. I did no giveaways on that, but I had 3,700 page reads and 6 sales. So, so with all those promotions, I mean, it's not like I made a whack load of money, but I made a profit on all of them. And for me, that's what I was looking at, is I wanted some distribution, but I wanted to make money on them. And these are not new books. These are books I've had out for like 3-4 years. So it was pushing a backlist.
Susan?
Yeah?
How much was your box set priced for?
God, I moved the price around. $7.99.
Okay, thanks.
I was going for Kindle Unlimited, so I wanted them to think that it was worth more money.
Susan, just a quick question. What were the reviews like on these books? And then what were they like after you did the promotion? Did you see it?
Oh, I only had, maybe 8 to 10 from each book. And they're all good reviews, and people afterwards reviewed them. So I have about 15, 20 reviews on every book now, and they're like 4 and 5 stars. Like my Desert and Dust has got solid 5 stars, and it's got like 15 or 20 reviews, and the same for Lost in Fire. So even though I haven't actively courted reviews, I got quite a few for somebody who wasn't even especially asking for them. So I was quite pleased about that, because now I'm getting reviews from people I've never heard of, which is kind of fun.
Well, and on my Mildred books, on the first Mildred, I have 93 reviews, and it was mostly from doing these. I don't have that big a family, so it was mostly from doing these. And whenever I do a promotion, if I make my money back, I consider it a success. And so, it's getting your word out, getting known.
Yep. Okay. We're still good. I'm just talking away. I hope this is working for people. Please ask questions if you got them as we go. I'm trying to make this seem simple because I know I looked at it for 2 years before I had the nerve to try it. And once I tried it, it was easy. But it was pretty scary to start. Okay, decisions. Which newsletter should you use? Because there are dozens. Now, we've found the best site is readsy.com, because they have a link there where they've listed the newsletters and ranked them by subscription numbers. They call 4 tiers and how much they cost. So the top tier is more expensive and has bigger subscriptions, and the bottom tiers are cheaper, like maybe free to $10, and they have fewer subscriptions. Another one that Toni found is this one, paidauthor.com, best ebook promotion. So they've got additional subscriptions of the sites, and they post the top 10. And she found some discount coupons. So she got some really good deals on promotions.
That's the one that I did where it's going out to like 21 to 25 book or different pages.
Yeah, is that the one, the bookmarketingtools.com?
No, the paid author one. No, you're right. You're right. The book marketing tools,
oh, okay.
which linked from the previous site. So,
but that's something that can help you out with figuring it out. The other things you need to consider are genre selections. Sections. So be prepared. When I did my dragon books, I put them out one time on the genre as YA, because it was cheaper, and I thought, well, they're YAs, and I didn't sell or distribute nearly as many as when I anteed up a little more money and put it on the fantasy list. So sometimes you kind of jiggle your selection a little bit. The prices for what you're doing vary. I think on when I was doing the kids' books, it was like $19 to $25. Whereas on the larger sites, if you were doing fantasy, it could be 40 or 50. So you want to look at how many people they get to.
Well, one of the big sites is $140.
I never go that high.
Yeah. Well, I haven't either. But it's like, that's why I like Readsy so well, because it does tell you the prices.
Yes. And you want to watch the size of the mailing list to decide if it's worth it to you. And mostly talk to other writers, because some like almost all of the paid platforms will say, we do romance, we do fantasy, we do mystery, we do this, we do that. And they list everything they do, but they may not actually sell well for you. Like I mentioned how when I did Bargain Booksy for my kids' book, there was practically nothing, even though Bargain Booksy is considered a really good newsletter platform. Fussy Librarian did much better. And I don't know why, but I do know there was a difference. And so if you talk to other writers, like if you're writing romance, talk to some other romance writers and find out what they did that worked. If you're writing fantasy, talk to fantasy writers and find out what they did that worked, because there's no point wasting your money. Because guaranteed the newsletter sites will tell you that everything they do is awesome. So, okay. Pandemic points. We thought we'd throw this in because it's worth considering. In most genres, sales are down right now. I don't know why. Whether it's because people are too freaked out to read or people have no money to buy books. I have no idea.
They're all watching Netflix.
So really choose wisely to avoid wasting your time, money, and giveaways, because remember, you don't have a lot of giveaways if you're doing it through Amazon. Decide ahead of time what results will make this a success for you. Do you want to distribute a specific number of books, regardless of whether they're paid or free? Do you want to break even financially? Do you want to raise yourself in the Amazon rankings? Do you want to make a profit? All of these are good, but pick what's most important to you, because otherwise you'll be scrambling and not sure whether or not you were successful. You always need to know what you consider a success, because otherwise you're kind of waffling around and worried that you didn't do it right. So pick it out, decide what you're doing. Questions. That's everything I know.
Did I have a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Joseph. Thank you.
Yeah, it was on the percentages. You listed under the facts and figures percentages for like mysteries. I think mysteries and thrillers had the highest amount, and sci-fi was next underneath that. How did you come up with those numbers? Is there an easy way to get those, or I was just curious. I was hoping to find that for like
On
the Children's Illustrated.
Yeah.
I found them in the research I was doing, using some of these sites. I think it was the one that said that it had Book Tools, maybe, but I had found that on one of those sites, and so we just copied and used it.
So we make no claims to accuracy.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
Yeah.
I was.
You should be able to get accurate results. Like if you look online, like with like any of the reputable publishing sites or like Publishers Weekly, things like that, I think you can get that information. Unless you're writing to the market, it doesn't matter a whole bunch. I mean, if you've been writing romance and decide that mystery is going to do better, you can switch, but
Yep.
it does sort of temper your expectations, because if, for example, you're writing children's books, which I do as well, I found it very, very difficult to market my children's books. And it really doesn't matter what the sales are or what the percentages are, because it's hard to get to them. And that's one of the things I'm working on all the time. It's easier to get to romance readers and fantasy readers, I believe, because they tend to be online and hunting for these books. So they're easier to get to. That's why it's kind of important to talk to other people to know what their experiences are.
And actually on Readsy, they have sections where they point out that these are for romance, so on some of them, not all of them, but some of them will tell you, what they specialize in and what their audience is.
And that's important. Because I know that on some of the sites, they do specialize, and that's where you want to go if you're writing in that genre. Anything else?
Nope. Cool. Thank you.
Yep. Right.
John, would you like to give us an update on best laid plans on what's happening?
Well, I still had a question.
Oh,
Sorry.
no problem.
Susan, you had mentioned, and I've heard it in the past mentioned, this price point. I don't understand conceptually what that is.
It's basically what are you going to set the price of your book at in order to maximize your distribution or your sales? For example, people who are reading on Kindle Unlimited are more likely to download a book that is priced high because they think, therefore, they're getting a deal. In some genres, like romance, people are accustomed to the books being inexpensive. So if you price it high, like at $4 or $5, they may not take a chance on it. If you price it too low, they think it's garbage. And why would they waste their money on something that's obviously not very good? That's why it's difficult, because, getting that sweet spot of the right price that entices people to purchase your book or to download it, it takes, I'm not expert at it. Some people are, but I'm not. And it's more of a matter of trial and error, or talking to people who are better at this than you are, so that they can say, this is what happened, this is what didn't happen. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thanks. And I had a follow-up question. Your last slide talked about make a profit. And I was just wondering, generally, what are you basing that on? Is it time and materials, time to write, and materials to print and to do the ads, etc.? Or is it just like materials that you're looking to make profit on?
I'm looking at what did it cost me. If I paid X amount of money for a paid promotion, did I get that amount of money back? Like say I spent $28 on a promotion. If I get $32 back, I'm in profit. I don't look at it in terms of the actual promotion for the cost of paper or the cost of the cover and all these other things. I tend to look at those in a more holistic way. Like I'll look at my whole year. Like I paid X amount for a cover or X amount for this, for the photographs that went on the cover. And I ran 4 promotions, which made a profit and made sufficient profit to cover my cover my basic costs. I mean, however you want to parse it out is up to you. That's just how I do it. I do, like, each promotion I consider individually, and then I look at my year to see what worked and what didn't, and whether or not I'm in profit or in loss as a writer. Because I figure if I can buy a coffee, I'm good.
I know, and I also just want to recover what I put into that promotion, and then anything after that, I do a little dance.
If you're
sounding a lot like sustainable farming, where the farmer never accounts for their time. It's right. Everything but their time. So
I was trying to figure out what I make an hour on writing books, and it's 0.00000. It goes on a ways.
Yeah. The first book I published, I did with a traditional publisher, and so I had really clear advances, royalty statements, and everything else. And because it was my first book, I'd kept really good track of how long I spent, and I figured I ended up getting paid about 10 cents an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, it was big time. I felt good about that. I had clearly joined the upper echelons.
Yeah, we got to get you a t-shirt.
I can't afford a t-shirt.
John,
Any other
just
questions?
to piggyback on what they said, there's, Susan and Toni did a tremendous amount of work, and it's continuous. So if we can't dispel the myth that it's a one-time thing and you'll make a ton of money, it is a continuous ball rolling down the hill type of thing, in concert with, list building, paid traffic, continuing to write the next book in a timely manner. All of those things key in on success. So if you're only putting out one book a year, it's going to be more of a challenge. And
I'd
yeah,
I'd also like to add that if you run the same promotion deal at the same newsletter with the same book, that you will see diminishing returns pretty quickly.
Immediately.
That's my experience.
Yeah, because the people who are subscribed to it have already seen it and bought it if they want it.
Well, and the best piece of advice I had ever gotten from our whole cooperative was Matthew saying, write another book, write another book, write another book. And now I've got 4 in the series, and I get read through regularly.
Mm-hmm. It makes a difference. Having something coming up or something behind you makes a difference, because if nothing else, you don't have all your eggs in one basket.
Well, I kind of see the first Mildred as this is just your taste of cocaine. Now I want you to really invest. Buy the other books.
Yeah. Anybody else?
No, we've had a lot of questions in the chat, but we've been answering those along the way. So.
Okay. Cool. So is it time to move on then? Talk about the anthology, or did you already? Do you have any more to say about it?
No, I asked John, but then we got into more questions, so.
Right.
Is Joel with us?
No Joel today? Well, John's been doing the anthology about best laid plans. How are we doing for submissions?
Okay. Yeah, I'm here. So we've got about 10 stories, and it sounds like there's at least 5 or 6 more maybe coming in.
Good.
So I've opened it up till the end of July to get everything in. Hopefully, get them in before that. And then I'm going to start with the editing process. Right now, I still don't know if they all fit together into kind of a cohesive anthology, or whether they're just kind of like a bunch of stray cats that don't belong with each other.
The sales copy.
So we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Sounds good.
Okay, and I had mentioned before we've been invited to the Lakewood Film Art and Books Festival. That's October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, but it's in Lakewood. And I know for me, it's 63 miles each way. We had 3 people interested, but Stephanie has stepped out just because of her concern with the virus not getting any better. And so I have not submitted to it. It had not been very successful for us before. It was a nice event to meet some other writers, maybe sell a couple things. So, if anybody's interested, I'll get us right in it. It is a free event. So just let me know.
Yeah, they didn't have a lot of foot traffic before, but, we always hope they got better. But it is a distance, so.
Going back to the anthology, the best laid plans, I just got a couple of comments. One of the benefits of being as old as I am is I got an opportunity to meet a whole bunch of famous writers when they were just getting started. And, back in the 1800s. And a number of them were paid literally by the word, and sometimes by the page. And the page that they were looking for in terms of a short story such as we're trying to put together in the anthology, was 88 pages. So I'm not sure why we have these cutoffs of 5,000 or 10,000 words, but we should think in terms of how many pages constitute a short story. And in many cases, the short stories that were submitted either to magazines or to anthologies averaged just below 100 pages.
That's a novella, not a short story.
No, as I said, these are sci-fi writers that were trying to make money, and so they tended to put together stories. Well, for example, the Conan novels, which are really nothing but a collection of short stories. Howard typically ran around 88 to 100 pages per story in any collection of his work. So just as a guide.
I think one of the issues is if we have such widely varying lengths, you end up with some stories overpowering the others, and it takes away from the sense of unity and of a whole. And I think that was one of the concerns we had, is that we wanted to keep things kind of in a ballpark that made them feel like they fitted together, particularly when we have a variety of writers and styles and approaches.
I don't think you're ever going to succeed in trying to do that, because poetry typically is 500 words. You're never going to be able to have, unless you're thinking of writing an epic poem, a 100-page poem to compete with a 100-page short story.
Well, most of us, Edward, if we were going to write 100 pages on something, we were going to keep it to ourselves and publish personally, as Susan said, as a novella, instead of putting it into one of these. These are shorter stories that we're getting the word out on writers, and it gives something that promotes the cooperative.
Well, then your books are going to look like pamphlets. But again, this is just based on experience that I've had with writers over the decades. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Any other comments or anything else we need to consider so we get in order?
No, I'm good.
I'm good. How about you, Matt?
No, I just want to say thank you guys very much for passing on this information. This is, I think, really helpful for everybody. There was a lot of chat, a lot of conversation in the chat regarding what you guys were talking about. So it really sparked a lot of good conversation.
Good.
So I appreciate you guys doing this.
Good. It's very much an overview, not a comprehensive how do you do it.
Yeah.
But when you're starting out or you're not sure, it's good. I hope it's useful to have a sense of first you do this, then you do this, and this is what you look for.
Yeah, one of the main things that I always like to talk about is, before you guys did this, maybe you guys could speak a little bit about your mindset before you did these type of promotions, and how scary marketing is and how difficult it was, versus after, maybe 6 or 7 months later. Do you feel more comfortable promoting yourself? Do you feel like you can go out there and do new things easier? Did it help you get over a little bit of the marketing hurdle?
Yeah, because I hate marketing. And
I roll right into it. You know, that's the extrovert and the introvert.
Yeah, I hate marketing. I don't want to talk to anybody. And I like to talk to you guys, but putting myself out there is terrifying. I really want to say, as my sales promotion, just read the damn book. And so it was really hard. I also find a lot of the technology in the forums very overwhelming, because it seems like no matter what they ask me, that's not what I've got. So then it's running around and trying to get everything together to make it look professional. And like I said, I did a couple of really substantial screw ups, even when I thought I was being on top of it. Whereas now I look at it as, yeah, I think I should do that. It'll probably take me an hour to put it together, which is a much more comfortable feeling. And I think I stared at it for maybe 2 years before I actually committed to doing one of these, because it just seemed like, but I have to reduce my price, and I have to do this, and I have to contact Amazon, and I have to write the copy, and I have to do all this. And it seemed, even though everybody kept talking about it, it seemed overwhelming to me. But once I did it, Matthew walked me through it. He held my hand while I whimpered. And but once I got through it, it's pretty straightforward and pretty easy. And it wasn't that hard to get decent results. And
I did Fussy Librarian first, or one of the first ones, and I gave away over 4,000 books and had like 100,000 page reads. And that made me go, shoot, give me another one. Now, when I put it in there at Fussy Librarian for a different book, I did not get that kind of result. And then with this pandemic, it's been, dropping. But still, I keep pounding because I want them to remember who I am.
Yeah, see, I don't care if anybody remembers who I am. I just want them to read the book.
Well, I figure if they catch me in a lie, I write fiction. What do you expect?
There you go. So I don't know if that's helpful for people, because I know everybody goes at it differently. Some people have a lot of confidence about things like this and they just do it. And other people like me find it really overpowering and intimidating.
Susan, for me, it's not confidence. I decided a long, long time ago, if you do something, you might get a yes. But if you don't do it, you've guaranteed no. So I had nothing to lose, except some of those were $5, $10, $30, and I usually made my money back.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Does that answer it, Matt?
Yes, perfect. Thank you very much. Because I know there's a lot of resistance out there. To steal the Stephen Pressfield term, there's a lot of resistance to doing things like this. So I appreciate it. It's always nice to hear people who might have been concerned about it and then did it and then, had a good experience. So appreciate
You're
it.
making me want to go check on my, how I've done since the beginning of this meeting till now.
Well, and it's also very exciting to see people reading your book, reviewing your book, contacting you that they enjoyed the book. There's something, we all have a little bit of the what's the term? Imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
It does help to alleviate a little bit of that when you start to get feedback. It is nice. Okay, cool. All right.
I've also gotten 4 live interviews on different radio shows from doing these.
All right, J.K. Rowling. We know you're doing well. Yeah. All right, cool. So thank you guys thank you very much. I think that we'll go ahead and stop the recording here.